Welcome to another episode of Beyond Giving, the best nonprofit podcast on the Boost Network. I'm Zac, the nonprofit guy, and this week we have such an interesting conversation with a Texas fashion industry initiative where they're empowering new models to break into the industry in Texas. Welcome back to another episode of Beyond Giving, the best nonprofit podcast on the Boost Network. Today, we're talking with Alix from the Texas Fashion Industry Initiative, where she's going to talk about all of the things along their mission. And so let's start, Alix, with kind of an introduction from you and learn a little bit about your background. Like, what is your background? It's probably somewhere in fashion. And where that's going to tie into is we want to kind of establish what led to your involvement with the Texas Fashion Industry
Sounds
Initiative.
good. So I'm Alix Mane von Broock. I just got married, so I added a more to the name, von Broock. But I initially got involved with them actually several years ago when Burgundy Woods was president. And so I actually own a business on the corner of Jones and Broadway in San Antonio. It's gone through its own renaissance over there. And so I've been there for a really long time. I've seen a lot of change. I've seen a lot of initiatives. And initially, Burgundy had approached me, to see how I could get involved. I'm in makeup and hair. I own a beauty salon. I also owned a boutique at the time called Element Boutique. And so that was a really big thing because it was fashion, it was makeup, it was hair. So naturally, we were drawn to each other. So that was my initial touch point with them. But as time went on, I got nominated for an award as Makeup Artist of the Year. Actually got nominated 3 times in a row.
Wow.
Didn't win. And then finally I won. And so I just thought it was a really great organization. I love what they were doing. I'm always about helping the community and I'm always about helping artists and creatives. I'm a creative myself, so I'm always drawn to that.
Awesome. And so can you tell us a little bit about what the Texas Fashion Industry Initiative does? How they help the community?
Absolutely. So what they do is exactly that. They help the fashion community to propel themselves into that realm and really create that industry within Texas. Not just San Antonio, but, it really does branch out across Texas.
Awesome. And so what types of programs and services does TFII provide? Like, how do they facilitate helping and promoting that community?
Yeah, that's a really great question. They facilitate a lot of things with the community through education, through activations, through funding, sponsoring, connections. I mean, you name it, anything that can support and help somebody in that industry. Texas Fashion Industry Initiative is there for them. So I myself have been named Educational Director this year, and I'm also Fresh Face Director. So we're going to be having auditions tomorrow from 5 to 7 at my other salon that's located at Saks Fifth Avenue. And so we're going to be choosing 30 models that I'm going to take under my wing, and I'm going to be educating them on how they can break into the modeling industry, whether it's through commercials, whether it's through runway. It's really about finding what someone is good at and finding that talent. That's what gets me really excited about Fresh Faces, is because there's so many times when I can see the potential in somebody, and it really does take mentorship and just that person that believes in you. And
Absolutely.
That's what it takes to get somebody to the next level. So those tiny little things were done for me, and they really did help me become who I am. So I'm really just paying it forward.
That's amazing. And so you experienced this type of support, and now you're giving your time back to help support other people in the industry.
I did.
That type of community is really what it's all about. So this Fresh Faces initiative, it's to help newer models kind of break into the industry, and you kind of guide them through that process?
Yes, this is for actually somebody who is not a professional. So this isn't somebody who has a contract. This isn't somebody who is with an agency. This is somebody who has thought about being a model, has, maybe that aspiration, that dream, that something inside them that they're drawn to that industry. It is a cutthroat industry. And so a lot of times, I speak from experience. I started modeling and acting when I was 15 years old.
Wow.
And so I went through a lot at that time. There's people that are not going to believe in you. You're going to go to so many auditions. Usually the way that it goes is somebody will, scout you, they'll discover you, and then they'll invest money in you and they'll really groom you and they'll help you get into that and they'll find you like a mother agency. And then that's when they kind of help you land these contracts and they facilitate like what type of model you'll be. They might even bring you to someone like me and we'll do like hair, makeup, or maybe change your look, do a haircut. I mean, Linda Evangelista, her haircut propelled her to, stardom, and it really changed her look. So these types of things they're really important to the industry. But what happens is, what if somebody doesn't believe in you, but you believe in you? So does that mean that you should give up your dream? Does that mean that you shouldn't be a model? That why are you even thinking about being in that industry? So I truly believe that when you have that kind of spark inside you, that kind of dream, you're going to hit so many walls. You're going to be, told no 100 times. So you got to get used to it. You have to audition. And I remember that. I was told no. I was told I shouldn't be doing certain things. And, nobody wanted to invest in me. So I invested in myself. And I remember what that was like. And so that's what this educational program means to me and Fresh Faces means to me, because that's what I'm going to be doing for someone else. As long as they meet me halfway, I'm going to be providing the information.
So it's a very personal kind of mission for you as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. And so when you were younger, when you first jumped into modeling and acting, right? What were some of the kind of challenges that you experienced? Like, how you said it's a tough industry, and we all know it's a crazy tough industry.
It is. But I think one of the biggest challenges is the ever-changing pulse point of what modeling is and what somebody says is beautiful and what somebody says is not beautiful. So, in the time when I was modeling, my nose was too big, my hips were too big. And then, of course, we've moved through this industry and we see body positive and we see larger models and there's a niche for them and there's these different things that they can do. I look at my nose now. I have people who tell me like if I had a nose job, which is kind of funny and ironic because I'm like, do you know how many people have told me when I was younger that my nose was too big,
right.
And I guess I grew into my nose. So it's so fickle and it is a really tough industry. You have to be ready to receive so much criticism, which you can internalize, and it can be one of these things where it breaks you. But it can also be one of the things that makes you really strong, because if you stand on 10 toes and you're like, I love my nose and I really love my hips, and I believe that there is a market for this and there's something that I can do with this. Maybe you're not the perfect person for this particular ad, but maybe you go down a different avenue. And that's the way it was for me. So commercial modeling was more my realm. I was so good at it. I'm bilingual. And so I was with Condor Artista for a couple of years, but for most of my modeling career, which was well into my 30s, I was independent, and I got all of my own contracts. I got all of my own.
Wow, congratulations.
I got all of my own work, and I was busy every week. And it's because I was professional. It was because I was dedicated. I made those connections. I knew how to work a room. I knew how to, talk to somebody. And, people want to work with people that are great to work with and dependable. Mm-hmm. So that has taken me really far. The consistency has taken me really far. And I want to teach that to the next generation.
Yeah. And that's so powerful, because especially in that industry, right? When you receive, like, we all receive critical feedback in different parts of our lives, but in the fashion and model industry, it feels very personal, right? It's your nose is not the right size or the right shape, right? How do you navigate that, and how, especially when you did on your own, right? You found your contracts, you carved out this kind of career in that industry with people telling you things like that. How do you navigate that, and how do you take that, not internalize it in such a way that it's damaging, but use it to propel you forward?
I can't speak to anyone else. I can only speak for myself, because it is something that's very personal. Mm-hmm. I think anybody who's listening to this that has experienced that, even just criticism in our job or whatever, you do internalize it. You're like, oh my gosh, but there's two jobs. You got two jobs. You can either internalize it and be like, oh my God, I'm going to wither away. Or the second job that you have is you can use it to make you better, whether that's making you a stronger person. Like, you know what? I don't agree with what they said. Or possibly maybe we're needing to receive that information, that someone says, hey, you want to be a runway model where you're going to have to lose 2 inches. And you know what? That's facts. If you have to fit a certain piece of clothing
Right.
that is a certain size and you don't fit that, you can't say, well, why can't I? Well, yeah, because you don't fit into the clothes. So if you want to do this job, then you're going to need to be disciplined, just the same way a gymnast is disciplined, just the same way, a track star is disciplined. They really work hard. And modeling is no different. I think that the modeling industry gets a lot of, criticism because it is very surface and it can look very, I guess shallow. But at the end of the day, there are really good models and there's very professional models. I truly admire a lot of people in the industry, Karen Mulder, Cindy Crawford. I mean, these are people that just time and time again, if you go and read their backstories, they were like consummate professionals. And I really admire that.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so you take a lot of this like passion and experience into your role with TFII, right?
Yes.
So what does a day in that role as education director kind of look like?
Well, I haven't had quite so many days, so I'm going to give you what my day was the other day.
Okay, that works.
Because I just stepped into this role. So it was a lot of prep work. It was a lot of, thinking out the event that we're going to have. I want it to be a positive experience. Some of these girls, this is their first audition. They've never done this before. So I want to teach them that they can't be messing around.
Right.
I want to also I'm going to do a disservice if I baby anybody. So I will not be babying anybody. I am definitely going to tell it like it is. I'm not going to be hurtful, but I'm going to be very disciplined in, hey, these are the times. This is as early as you can get there. Do not be asking unnecessary questions. When I went to auditions, I wasn't bothering the person that was like, called for the audition. I would be told to leave, if I bothered somebody with that kind of, nonsense. So, it can be a little bit disturbing at times seeing this, the next generation have this type of entitlement. And we hear that all the time, but it's absolutely 100% true. And I'm hoping to teach these girls professionalism, these girls and guys professionalism, and how to make a good impression, and also read the room.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And you said that you'd be doing a disservice if you babied them, and that's so true. And we see that kind of in a lot of different programs, especially when people are taking people that are new to a thing, like modeling in this case, right? And they're all, that's great. Everything you're doing is amazing.
Yeah, the parents are like they're there with the parent.
Absolutely.
I didn't even put that. I'm thinking now. You got me thinking. I didn't even put that in there. But I'm like, there will be no parents hovering around. If somebody's younger, they're just going to wait for them. It's these types of things where if you're committing to this, we do have a safe place. This is a public place. This is Saks Fifth Avenue. My salon's in Saks Fifth Avenue, so it's a well-known brand. Just things like that where I think it's really important to follow directions.
Absolutely. And I think it's super important though, because you can baby or coddle somebody at the beginning and then they will fail miserably when they're actually exposed to what the industry is, right? If you're not preparing them for what to expect, how are you building them up for this career?
I have said this exactly to, I mentor staff in the hair and makeup industry. And I have been told at times that I'm pretty harsh. And I actually think it's quite comical because I'm really nice. So I think to myself, wow, I'm going to have to open my mouth right now and tell them, if you think that I am actually, being mean or, just by telling you facts and actually giving you the information that you need to survive in this industry, then you're going to be just wildly surprised and shocked when you actually go out into the industry and you get slapped in the face, so to speak, and it's going to be a wake-up call. Definitely. So I'm going to look really nice after that, So it's just one of these things where, people don't know what they don't know.
Yep, absolutely. And something you just said is super important as well. You said this is a safe space, right? So in your programs, when you are sharing this information, when you are telling them, how you should behave in these areas, that is a safe place for them to make those mistakes.
I'm already teaching from the very beginning. So even if they don't make fresh faces, that audition that they have under their belt and the way that it went, I'm going to create an audition where they're going to get experience. They're going to slate. They're going to, have a number. They're going to have to wait. And even just the waiting itself and being patient, those things are definitely sometimes for some people learned behavior because they don't know how to do it.
Patience is hard.
It is.
Patience
Yeah.
is hard.
I mean, just even before we start, I have so many people like, I haven't heard. And I'm like, you haven't heard because there's no info yet.
Yep.
You have to wait. We just close these auditions. There's just these things that are just like mind-boggling sometimes, So yeah, I think that all of this will be a really great experience for San Antonio. It'll be a really great experience for anybody that is entering into Texas Fashion Industry Initiative. And I'm just really looking forward to, diving into it and see what kind of experience I get from it. I'm always learning too. There's never a day that goes by that I don't learn something new.
Absolutely. And so I want to kind of change directions just a little bit. You said you were back when you were like 15, you were interested in modeling and in that area. What sparked that interest? And because it seems like that interest back when you were younger kind of built this career in fashion. You own a salon, you're working with the Texas Fashion Industry Initiative. You're doing all these things in that space. So like what was the drive back then to do it for you?
I think it probably started, we're going to go way back. I had an amazing fourth grade teacher.
Oh, wow.
Fourth grade. Yeah, Mr. William Ty Heinz. I just loved him so much. He was just so like cerebral and he just like got me so excited about school. But what was really cool about him is he did this project where he was like, we're going to do The Wizard of Oz. And we're going to have an entire production of Wizard of Oz. And he did not spare any expense. He did not coddle us. We had to do the work. We auditioned and everything. And it's so funny because I just cut my hair like a boy because I was a fan of Madonna and I thought I could look like Madonna. I don't know. And so I was like, oh my God, I just cut my hair so short. I'm not going to be able to be Dorothy. Well, long story short, I ended up being Dorothy.
Okay.
So I caught what they say is the acting bug. And I just like loved it. And then my mom was like, oh God, like now I have to take her to these auditions and I have to do all this kind of stuff. And it was really funny. But since fourth grade, that's when I think I really was like, oh my gosh, I want to be an actress. I want to do this. But I think when you have those kind of aspirations and you're a female, it naturally goes into modeling because you're kind of taking any kind of experience that you can possibly get. So I was already, investing in myself, taking acting workshops, taking modeling workshops, working at Whataburger and paying for my dance classes and
Nice.
Just really investing in myself. I even knew that back then that nobody was going to do it for me, not even my parents. I had to do it for myself. And I caught a break. At 15 years old, I knew Selena, the late Selena Quintanilla's cousin. And he says, Alix, Selena has a fashion line and they're auditioning models. And I think you should go. And I'm like, where? Like, give me the information and I'll be there. So it was at their offices there in Corpus Christi, Texas, where I grew up. And I went ahead and went to the audition. I walked for Martin Gomez and Selena. And I was chosen to be one of their models. And then I went on to actually open and close the show with the designer. Still friends. One of my best friends is Paige Bowler, which we walked out with Martin Gomez. We're still best friends to this day. And I just saw Martin not too long ago. They did like a Selena special, and we got to revisit a lot of, just go down memory lane and like see everything. So that was my big break. My big break was with Selena. She mentored me.
Okay.
Not many people can say that Selena was their mentor. I know how incredible that is, but she was an entrepreneur. So she loved fashion. She was definitely a designer. She taught me that I did not have to go down one avenue, that I could be multifaceted. And it's funny because she was before her time. So she left me with that legacy where I was before my time because I was trying to do all these things and people would tell me, you need to focus on one thing. And I was like, no, I want to do all these other things. I want to do everything. And so what's really incredible is how you can want to do all these different things and somehow it all comes together. When I left the industry and I was like, well, I want to start my makeup and hair business. I had my children and I was tired of being in front of the camera and always on a diet and all those kind of things. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to step away from the camera and I'm going to focus and start my makeup and hair company on site. And I really want to do this. I stepped away from it, but I was still kind of like one leg in, right? And people would call me and say like, Alix, can you do this commercial for us? Can you, why don't you audition for this? I need you. So I had a leg over here and a leg over here. And one day I ended up on this really big producer, Brenda. I ended up on her desk pitching for makeup and hair, pitching for being talent on set.
Oh, wow.
And she was like, which one do you want to do? Because you can't be doing this, and she was that harsh reality where she was like, you need to pick one.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, that is a little confusing. So I decided to focus on building my business in makeup and hair. And that was in 2009. I started the Professionals Makeup Hair Image. So I would do image consulting, makeup and hair on site, a lot of production, work with a lot of celebrities, did a lot of shows. I actually landed a big contract with Despierta America. I was doing a segment for them called En la Cocina con las Estrellas. And I got to work with a lot of celebrities and a lot of people internationally. It was really cool. I had a contract with them for like 3 years. It was incredible because I loved it. I missed being in front of the camera. But then later, I got the opportunity with Fox to do a beauty segment. So it's so interesting how things come full circle and you're able to combine those talents. So my advice to anybody is just enjoy the ride. You never know when things will come full circle and you'll be able to use all those gifts and put them all together.
That's crazy that it all started with a 4th grade production of Wizard of Oz.
I caught the bug.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then so all of that kind of experience led into what you're doing for the Texas Fashion Industry Initiative. So aside from the Fresh Faces programs, what other things does the organization do in the community? And how do you guys bring up these different models, especially when you're talking about different types of models, or do you focus on a particular industry in the fashion or a space in the fashion industry, or what does that look like?
That's a really good question. We are actually going to be doing, when we do have this, there's several parts to this question. So when we do this audition, I am definitely going to be set up tomorrow to be slating people and kind of giving them a few lines to say, because maybe they don't work out for runway. Maybe they don't work out for these certain things, but I think TFI would be able to utilize them maybe on camera. Maybe that's something that we have in the future. We have a division where there's like, we need talent. We need like people who are hosting and, doing social media and these kind of things. So sometimes people may not, a model may not work out for runway, but they could be a great hair model. They could be a great face, but they're too short, So modeling there is so many avenues you can take in modeling. My best friend lives in New York. She's a professional model. She just did a job with Walmart and L'Oreal.
Wow.
But she is a fit model. So that's a whole other thing that she does. She does some of the most well-known brands. Her body is the perfect dimensions that they want for their clothing. So they pay her to come in and they basically just have her stand there and they measure and they have her try on their samples and do all these things. And she's like the metric for like what a woman's body like should be. And she's not, a size 2. She's got curves. So it's so interesting because there is something for everybody and you get paid very well for it. So there's so many different things that you can do in this industry. There's hand models. I mean, there's all kinds of models. So there's something for everybody. So we will be focusing on finding talent, period.
Right.
Then, as we mentioned in the beginning, I am education director and I'm Fresh Faces. Usually 2 people do those jobs.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I'm combining those things. So to answer the next part of that question, education, what TFI is doing for education is they're providing education for entrepreneurs, for fashion industry initiative, any board members, but also anybody that wants to join. So if you're listening to this and you want to be a member, definitely contact us because we do need more people supporting more members. I'm always looking for somebody to teach a workshop if there's something that can be taught to someone else and you want to impart your knowledge. AI, marketing, branding, how to sew, how to get a sample, how to approach the fashion district in New York. Where do you get your samples made? I mean, all of these things, all of these organizations, they are there to help that designer and help that person figure out what is the course of action to get to this goal. Like, what does that look like? What does it take to scale this? So educational director means me collaborating with other people that can impart knowledge and share that knowledge with the people that are coming to these workshops.
And so that really is the cornerstone of what TFII is, right? Is providing education and resources and helping people navigate that industry, which, as you said, changes like very often, right? Now, you did mention AI for a second, so I do want to kind of dig into that just like very briefly. So where does AI kind of plug into the fashion industry, and why are skill sets around that necessary for people that work in that space?
Well, AI is such a broad term.
True.
It's artificial intelligence, right? So that can mean ChatGPT, which I think we're all familiar with now. That can also mean video. That can mean artificial intelligence with apps, with the way that something is client facing. So how do we get AI to help in the fashion industry? So I really do want to bring somebody who is an expert at AI to come and give one of the educational discourses, because I think it really is important to stay informed on how things are changing and how that's going to, we want to use artificial intelligence to make things easier and better for us. So that's how that is incorporated into what we're doing. I mean, it's really about making our life easier, not replacing, but definitely making things better, easier, more flow. I support it. I like it. It's a little scary sometimes
Definitely.
when, you watch these videos and, I think that's why we get kind of like a bad taste in our mouth, because we're like, I'm watching a mermaid wash up onto shore.
Yep.
What am I watching?
And some of those like deep fakes feel very real, right?
No, they're so weird. Yeah. So we do tend to kind of correlate like AI with a little bit of like, that's weird. But if we can stay focused and see how we can actually utilize that in our business, and take things to the next level, then we can hone in on AI.
Definitely. And so with your entrepreneurial background running a successful salon, what do you think is the most important skill set that you are bringing to the people, these new models that are going through your programs? Of all the stuff you've learned and done as an entrepreneur.
I would say probably be ready for change. Just be ready for anything that comes your way. Be adaptable. And like I said before, consistency. I want to teach people consistency. Whatever you are consistent at, whatever you do every single day, that is what you're going to be good at. So you have to be consistent. I heard somewhere or read somewhere, I can't remember where I heard this, but if you do things like, 20 times, you're like intermediate level. But if you do things like 100 times, you get to like,
Right.
This other level. And then if you do things 1,000 times, you're like at that mastery level, right? So when you think about things in those terms, then, you're going to one audition. So you're just not there yet. And that's okay. So it's about being really observant and self-aware.
Yes.
So self-awareness is probably one of the things that I would also say is just, be self-aware. And that way you can think about others, before you think about yourself. You can't go wrong with doing that. So I think that it's really important to, like I said, teach this next generation of models what it's like to be in a professional environment.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you've kind of shined like a new light or a more open light on the industry. Like you said, like the industry gets a lot of kind of crap, right? And I like how you've kind of broken down and shown that it's just like any other job. It's just like any other process, right? Now, what are the areas where TFII is really looking for community involvement? How can people get involved, and what are you guys kind of looking for?
We're looking for people who want to take the initiative to help in the industry. I'm even just when you ask me that question, I'm thinking about our board members. Our board members are made up of so many different unique individuals. We have real estate, we have PR, we have, people who work on grants. There's really a broad spectrum of talent on as far as our board members. So I think it's just really important to help your community, be involved in the community. It's a fun thing to be involved in. Fashion, beauty, I'm drawn to it. It's always one of these things where people always tell me, oh my gosh, it's so exciting. This is so cool. But it's a lot of work. It is a lot of work. Everybody, it looks very sexy and it looks really like, glamour and everything, but it is hard work. So you have to love what you do in order to like really be good and be successful at this industry. If anybody wants to get involved and maybe they don't want to do as hard a work and they want to be associated with it, affiliated in any way, then please join, because then you can offer some type of, sponsorship of your time. Maybe somebody in the corporate world is drawn to fashion and beauty, but they have a corporate job. Mm-hmm. And so maybe this is a way that they can get involved in that, and there's money to be given so that we can help fashion designers and the fashion community that is here in Texas, and just really put ourselves on the map.
Definitely. And so you're looking for support in terms of like people to volunteer their time to help around, your board or your different events.
Like there's so many different ways that you can help.
Mentorship, you mentioned
mentorship, monetary. I mean, even if somebody wants to join the board and they're like, I have something that I want to teach. It's really important to also understand that this is volunteer work and this isn't for profit or for gain. So, so if someone's listening and they're like, oh, this is so great. I'm going to be able to do this. Yes, naturally things will be organic and you'll be able to cross promote. I mean, obviously I own a salon. I own 2 businesses. If I put my hands in somebody's hair, the chances of them coming back for me to do their hair again are pretty, the chances are pretty high. So naturally those things happen. But I think that the human experience is all about connection.
Absolutely.
So we have to connect with our community. We need to reach out, and you never know what kind of opportunities that you get or the kind of people that you meet. I mean, there's so many times when I just feel like my soul is like rejuvenated after like I meet somebody and I'm just like, that was so lovely. Like I feel energized. Yep. Just the same way sometimes we meet somebody and we're like, whoa, that was draining. That was a lot. So we're energy. And I think that it's really important for us to give our energy to the things that are positive in this world. There's so many things going on right now. And, to me, this is just a way that you can give back.
Definitely. And, volunteering your time with intentional focus on contributing to that positive impact that the organization like TFII is making into the community is really how we build and we scale that impact. So that's amazing. Where can people go to learn more about the organization and learn how to donate or get involved, however they're able to?
So they can go to texasfashionindustry.org.
And there they'll be able to learn about the opportunities, the different programs you guys are working on and how they can get involved.
There's a lot of our past fashion shows. So if you want to take a peek into like what that looks like, a lot of our board members are on there. So you can just read through the pages and see, kind of get a feel of who we are. And then definitely there's contact information and submission forms so that you can get involved. So we're going to be having the Texas Fashion Industry Awards, which we've had in the past. That's where you can go vote. You can actually nominate somebody that you want to put in the spotlight for makeup and hair. Maybe there's somebody that is just doing really great things and they're really branching out.
And is this the award that you were nominated for and won?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. So it really does just come full circle.
Yeah, it does come full circle because I think people, they're watching us. I mean, we have access to everybody. So, people are on social media, they're watching our stories. They're living vicariously. I know I live vicariously through, a lot of people that I watch. So where I'm like, oh man, that's so cool. I love watching, different people. And so you never know, you could be inspiring somebody else with their dream. So it's just really important to, like I said, if you're watching somebody, if you see somebody doing really great things, nominate them. Yeah. And you never know, they could win the award. And we're going to have that this year and they can find out all the information on our website.
Awesome. That's texasfashionindustry.org.
That's right.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Alix. It was great to learn about your background and talk about the work you're doing with
Thank
the
you for
Texas
having me.
Fashion Industry Initiative.
Awesome.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks so much for joining another episode of Beyond Giving, the best nonprofit podcast on the Boost Network, sponsored by Nonprofits HQ. This episode was an amazing look at how the Texas Fashion Industry Initiative is promoting the fashion industry within Texas. You can learn more about the organization and how to get involved at texasfashionindustry.org or follow them on their socials. All that's in the show notes below. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.